So, what is this? This is an ideal relationship. Not the ideal, just one version that we're familiar with, two people that grow old together and still make out on a couch. And what about an ideal job? This is one of my ideal jobs. This is another. Now, your ideal job might look different than this, and that's okay, that's great. That's not the point. The point is that we have ideal jobs and ideal relationships. And why do we do that to ourselves? Why do we fill our brains with ideals when they're not real, they're not possible? Are they? What if I told you they were possible? Not in a way like you can be Darth Vader, but in a way that you can have a job infused with destiny, or a meaningful relationship that lasts a lifetime. It is possible, and I'm going to tell you how. But let's back this up for a second and start it off like a normal conversation, a friendly introduction. Hi, my name's Christin. I'm a consultant. I work with men. I get that reaction a lot, actually. Specifically, I work with good guys who want to be better men. And these good guys are experiencing some kind of transition. They've either lost a job or they've lost a relationship, and they're certain that they have something to do with it, but they can't quite figure out what it is. Most of them have a longing for something they can't even name. And I know exactly how that feels, because I used to be just like these men. Oh, there's a picture of me teaching them. I used to have a job without purpose and a love without passion. I felt like I was in a prison, and I knew there was a way out. I just couldn't wrap my brain around what that was. Eventually, I did find the way out, and in order to tell you about it, I have to tell you a story. I was raised in a home with alcoholism and violent abuse. It was disturbing because on the outside, we looked very happy, we looked very normal. But on the inside, I was being dragged downstairs, or strangled, or my body was being used for pleasure. My parents were around at varying intervals, and the only consistent male presence in my life was my grandfather, who taught me a love of poetry and walks in the woods. When I was 22, he became very sick, and I got the chance to be with him as he was passing. We sat in the dark, and he held my hands, and he said, "You've always been a good girl. You've always done exactly what you were supposed to do. But you have your own star to follow." And he asked that I do his spirit the honor of having the courage to follow it. And a few hours later, he died. Now, I was devastated, not just because he was gone, but because I saw something clearly in that moment. I had a realization that I had built my life around who I pretended to be, this good girl, this person that did everything they were supposed to do, person that was quiet. And I had completely ignored who I really was, a traveler and a poet. It was devastating because the gap was enormous, and I mean enormous, like an infinite abyss. Just like this! Oh, I timed that. No, I'm kidding. It was an infinite abyss. And I felt like I was standing on one side, and it was an impossible leap. It was like someone handed me a piece of chewing gum, a tube sock, and a toy hammer, and said, "Build a bridge." And I'm not freaking MacGyver, so I couldn't figure it out. But I did try, brick by brick and step by step. I started off with small things like taking a one-way trip to China. or selling my home and quitting my job. But I did other things too, like I learned to forgive. I learned to surrender. Sorry. I am pressing the wrong button. Wrong way. I learned to forgive and surrender. I learned to drop the facade and be who I really was. And at the end of the day, I uncovered this star that my grandfather saw. I uncovered my essence self. Now, we've just been through a bit of deep, dark shit. You've made it through the pit of despair. Congratulations. So let's talk about how to move forward, how to get the ideals, shall we? How do we get the ideals is in the idea of essence self. And when I say self, I mean self with a capital S. Self is not a new idea. It's been around for a long time. And it's this notion that there's a part of you that is constant and unchanging. It's who we are when we're little children, when we dream and create and invent things. Self is the core of who we are. And the core of who we are has everything to do with everything. It answers the big why. Why are we in the jobs we're in? Why are we with the people we're with? It even tells you why you're here. Now that's a big statement and a big offer. I know why I'm here. That why and that self infuses everything with meaning and depth. It gives depth to our love life. It gives depth to our sex. It gives depth to our food. And when you know that why, going to a job because you're good at it or you have a degree is no longer good enough. And being in a relationship with someone because you've been together forever is no longer good enough. Everything that we have idealized and hoped for is real. And not in a fluffy BS kind of way, but in a way that's earthy and gritty and dense. Like how I used to hate men because they were cruel, and now I work with them. Or how my heart broke when my grandfather died because I loved him without restraint. That's an ideal love. This is a thoughtful pause. It's a very, very thoughtful pause. Just bear with me for a second. So what's called for here is a remembrance of who we are and what we want. A remembrance of self. And there are 3 things that you can do. It's 3 things I had to do, and 3 things that I take every single men's group through, and I'm going to take you through them now. The first is to ask why. Why are you here tonight? Why do you get up in the morning? Start to question the reality you've built for yourself and question the reality of others. It makes for very interesting dinner conversations. The second is to know what you want. So when you go home tonight or tomorrow morning, get out a sheet of paper and a pen and complete the sentence, I want, over and over and over again. Give yourself at least 30 minutes until it makes you cry. And this will be the core desire of self. You don't have to go after the bottom of that list right away. You can start with small things like a second piece of cake or checking out the super sexy waitress. Maybe that's just me. But those small desires will build, and eventually your life will orient around the bottom of that list. And when they do, you make another list, and another list, and another list. The third thing is to have compassion and curiosity. Self is compassionate and curious. So start to identify the places in your life where you feel compassion and curiosity, and give more attention to them. Stop wasting your time with the places you don't feel compassion and curiosity. Because everything you want, all those ideals, are here and now, right now. And you have the power and the choice to claim them. Because you are the master of your own fate, and you are all the captain of your own soul. Thank you.